Hi, I'm Neil Sackmary.
Hi, I'm State Trooper Sean Hagstrom with the Nevada State Police Highway Patrol Division, PEIO. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Trooper Talk.
And together, we can make a difference. Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with this edition of Trooper Talk. Now, we don't have Trooper Hagstrom here, and we don't have Officer McClarty here. So, please introduce yourself and tell us what it is that you do for Nevada State Police.
I'm Officer Chris Thompson for Nevada State Police, but on parole and probation. I've been there as an officer about almost 10 years, supervising people that are on parole and probation for various, offenses of criminal law.
And?
My name is Christina Gilbert. I am with Nevada Donor Network. We are a proud partner of Nevada State Police, and I'm honored to be here to share more about our mission.
Sergeant Clifton, it's not my first time, you've seen me before, but Sergeant with Parole and Probation, Nevada State Police.
So let's start off with you. So we talked just briefly before we went on the air, because I don't like to talk so that we get everything on the camera. So we met before, but this is your first time actually coming on to the Trooper Talk.
Correct.
So when you work for the Parole and Probation Department, people make the wrong choice and they end up where they might be on parole or probation. But it doesn't make someone a bad person. They just might have been doing, things in different situations. But your purpose of the parole and probation is to provide them, to help them find a job, better living, these type of things. So even though it's a negative situation sometimes, you're always looking towards the positive to try to help someone that has been on the wrong side of the law.
That's correct, yeah. So mostly, like you said, yes, people have make bad choices and end up getting put on probation or parole, depending on the situation. And us as the probation officers or parole officers are supposed to be kind of the mentor to walk alongside and help navigate after the choices are made and now they're convicted to, like you said, get a job, find resources to help curb those bad behaviors and just make their living situation better and to be productive members of society ultimately and succeed.
Because that's the goal, right? Like you made a bad choice, and so one of the things that we talk about, which is the DUI, right? Sometimes resulting in death, or speeding, reckless driving. Sometimes these offenses are so egregious that they end up where they went to the court and the court said you are going to now be on probation or end of parole because you had to go inside, and so that's your ultimate goal, right?
Yes, exactly. So, just trying to help navigate, and just like you said, or like I said just a second ago, to be that mentor and just walk alongside somebody, because at the end of the day, everybody's human, and not everybody makes a right decision 100% of the time, but we're just to help to kind of guide and make sure that they don't make the same mistakes again and again and again. Ultimately to lead to an offense where somebody does get killed, because that's what we try to avoid at any time, at any juncture.
Right. And unfortunately, we had a trooper who lost his life because of an act, and the Nevada Donor Network was not only there, but we had Joanna come on here. And it was the first time that she really opened up about what she was sharing. And the Nevada Donor Network is tremendous. And you're not pushy. You just want to open up the conversation. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, Nevada Donor Network is proud to partner with Nevada State Police to bring more awareness to organ, eye, and tissue donation. And unfortunately, Trooper May's life was taken in a very horrific incident while he was on duty serving our community. And in the end, his wife was able to make that decision to have him be a heroic organ donor, to be able to give the gift of life to others and to save lives ultimately. And our goal is to share more with our community about the importance of registering to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor, because when one person does, they have the opportunity to save the lives of 8 others through organ donation and heal and enhance the lives of 75 or more through tissue donation. So the gift is real. We see this as an example of, you know, Trooper Micah Mann being able to share his story and the hero that he was and has and continues to be. So very proud to be able to share more about that.
And if somebody's interested, what do they do to talk to you? Or
So it's very easy. If you go to nvdonor.org, we have a plethora of information that you can read more about becoming a registered organ, eye, and tissue donor. You can also read more about the facts, the desperate waits that people are waiting for the ultimate gift through organ donation. Right now in America, there's over 100,000 people. Nearly 700 of them are Nevadans. And so I encourage you to visit nvdonor.org, learn more about that ultimate gift, but also to just see the impact you can make by reading the stories of the people we serve, like Trooper Micah Mann, have been able to give that gift.
and Sergeant Clifton, most people don't know this, but when this tragedy happened, we had a little meeting in the back of my not my back of my store, like a secretive meeting, but you know, where everybody was eating, and Sergeant Clifton came over and said, "Let me tell you something. I'm here. So if you need me to come on, you know, because the trooper talk is so important." And at that time, you know, it was just a transition period and it was very difficult. And Sergeant Clifton said, "I'm here, like whatever you need." And so you have always helped when it comes to the trooper talk. And it's really wonderful because I really always say that Nevada State Police has the leadership. And the leadership is what's so important, because most of the time the leadership is not great at the top. And Nevada State Police has something in entirety, right? From the deputy chiefs to all the way down to the colonels. I mean, it really is a wonderful place to work for. And I just want to say this, that in reference to Trooper May, you know, when that happened, they just had a beautiful birthday for his son. And everybody came. And so when you're part of the Nevada State Police family, you're part of the Nevada State Police family.
That's one of the things that when a trooper officer ends up passing away, right? We've unfortunately had 4, I think, since 2020. And they've all had children, younger, some older. We don't forget them. We do a really good job of following up, you know, everything from first day of preschool all the way to senior prom, right? Those things that will go there, right? I've seen in other states, we haven't had the opportunity that I know of to do it here, but where literally there's been a full police escort in a limousine for the 17-year-old going to senior prom. That's so cool, right? And that's something, I mean, generally across the board that law enforcement agencies try and do, but we make it a priority. Because this Nevada State Police is not a huge organization. Statewide, there's probably, I think, 1,200 employees. That's it. I mean, that sounds like a lot, right? But it's really not, considering here in the Southern Nevada region, we probably have 500 or 600. I know a lot of those people, right? Thompson knows a lot of those people. I know everyone from the Highway Patrol chief down, the PMP chief down, right? We're a family. This isn't some, like, you go to, like, take for example, NYPD, they have 30,000 cops in New York City. They don't know anybody, right?
Yeah, right.
I know the chief,
Right.
right? I know the director, I know everybody. And that's why it's such a tight-knit family, because we have those relationships built, right? And that's such a great thing. And kind of to carry what you're saying to Officer Thompson, too, is, like, about bad people, like, there's a very small percentage of bad people that we deal with, right? The majority of our offenders are actually first-time offenders who made bad choices, right?
Oh,
and
that's interesting. Okay.
I mean, really, like, I don't think you probably have a different opinion, but it's a vast majority, I'm going to say, are first-time offenders. And a vast majority aren't heinous, violent crimes. You know, they're your DUIs, things like that, right? People don't realize that when you do a violent crime, or I'm calling a DUI a violent crime because it really is, right?
Yeah,
Especially
course,
DUI
absolutely.
death. you're gonna end up. It's not just gonna cost you $10,000 in a couple of days in jail. No, it's gonna cost you 3, 5, 10 years in jail if you get a death, and then plus you're gonna be on parole or probation, right? Like that, it can cost you big time, right? So, and that's the whole family aspect too. You know, Trooper Hagstrom goes into arrested DUI on the front side, then you come out and see me on the back side, right? So not only do we know each other, we work together in ways that it's kind of weird, but it could be a complete cycle from start to finish with domestic police.
It's interesting you say that because that's what we always say. We talk about is the front side and the back side, right? And the thing is that, you know, somebody doesn't realize that a few seconds or you know, a few minutes of just taking their car and wanting to test it out, you know what I mean? And you know, it's funny, I didn't even get a chance to say this to Johnny yesterday, but we went to the bank. We were driving by and we stopped in, and behind Johnny's van was a Dodge Charger. And Johnny was parked like this and the Charger was parked like this, and all you heard was the rumble of the engine. And I was going to say to Johnny, what did you get, the muffler fixed? Right? But the thing is that when you have these high performance cars and they are ready to rock and roll anytime you want, you know, you can go just as fast in a not fast car as you can in a fast car, but the difference is that you have more of the temptation. And, you know, when you speed and you do reckless driving and you do DUI and you do impairment, which is now, we just passed the 100 deadliest days, right? But it doesn't make a difference. It's now October, right? So now people have the Christmas parties and the Halloween parties and the... People need to be careful, right?
Absolutely. Just the implied risk behind getting the wheel, like after a couple drinks anyways, is just there regardless. Anytime, even if it's 100 days, Christmas times, or even if it's just a regular, you know, work day, there's too many times when people just, you know, it's too much of a risk. Too much of a risk.
And I want to touch on the fact of what you talked about you being there. How long are you here? 10 years, you said?
About 10 years, yes.
Okay. You know, the Nevada State Police family really makes it evident that you do know everybody at the top. And so at most agencies, as a person who is not of a higher ranking stature, right? They're not really communicating with each other. And so it's sort of like, it's a very interesting thing, and I've seen it in other agencies, where they don't want to talk to people of the higher ranks. And so one of the things that I think is very cool is where you are in your career, right? And you've been always with parole and probation?
Yeah, so actually I've been with the agency for close to 18 years now. I started my career as a civilian, then I transitioned over to being a probation officer.
Start me off at the beginning. Well, this is great because let me tell you something.
I know, we're all want to hear it.
Let me tell you something. Because Officer McClarty is going to say, did you talk about, you know, being a recruiter or doing recruiting? And we'll say, yes, we had somebody start off as a civilian. Are you kidding me? Okay. You start at a civilian doing what?
So I believe now, I think the position has now been dissolved completely from the state, but I actually was it's called a clerical trainee, where I would actually deliver the mail when we had multiple office locations.
At what age? I mean, can I ask how old you are? Or like what you started when you were like
2006.
So like you were a young like a person
younger than I am today, yeah.
Right. Okay. For sure. All right. So you started there as a civilian.
Yeah. Started doing that, the mail, and then I got promoted into around like 8 or 9 months after, kind of like a pseudo IT like coordinator liaison type job.
Okay.
And worked on that one for many years. I helped us move into, so Sergeant Clifton will know, our parole and probation offices. We had multiple satellite offices for a period, then moved into one huge giant building. So I was part of the IT team that moved everybody from all the satellite offices into one huge office.
Okay.
And then after that, I was trying to get into the job as a probation officer, and after
but you weren't a sworn officer, right?
No, I was still a civilian as the IT guy. Yeah.
Okay.
And then just working with everybody for so long, because even at the same I guess, mindset, like how he was saying, you know, everybody from the top down.
Uh-huh.
As a civilian, I knew our chief, I knew our majors at the time, and everybody, and they would, hey, Chris, you know, like, it's weird, you know, just being on a first name basis with the top person of our
Right.
agency
Uh-huh,
at the time. But, you know, it's kind of neat that same family mindset aspect. I still get Christmas cards from the major from back then.
Yeah.
Till this day, I still get Christmas cards from her, so it's kind of neat. But yeah, so then I wanted to try to finally become a probation officer and made the jump. So,
And so you go into the academy,
correct.
and then you knew that that's what you wanted to do. You didn't want to do the highway patrol side.
Yes.
Okay.
At that point, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, like, as the career moves on, there's, I don't want to say hiccups or anything like that, but there's the aspirations of wanting to try something different, and the itch is there, you know what I mean? So there's temptations here and there for me to want to try to transition to a different spot in DPS, or the state police.
Right.
Absolutely, you know.
But and so now you've been with parole and probation. Okay.
Correct.
So your job is to look after people that are either on parole and or probation.
Yes.
And so that's the mentorship, which is a great word, which we've never used before. See, this is why we have a different person come on every time. It's fantastic. But the thing is that we want to allow people the opportunity to live their life, but they have to live their life in a better way. Right? And so I like the analogy of however many people are first time, because we always talk about the fact that people that do the reckless driving and the DUIs and this type of stuff, although they've done it for many times, you know, when they get caught, right, it's their first offense that they got caught, right, for doing these bad activities, which could have resulted in death, and then they see you.
Absolutely, yeah. And like he said, I would agree that a lot of the people that I've supervised over the years are, the majority of my caseload would be built up of younger individuals who haven't had, 5, 10, 15 crimes or anything in their past. It's something new that they've done, either the reckless drivings or luckily some of them that haven't had the, a fatal crash or anything like that have injured people to that point. But yeah, a lot of bad choices, and just being there to, like I said, step alongside them and help guide them through that.
Yeah, that's cool that he could see. You can see in his eyes that he still has the same passion.
Yes.
Right, to help and to do and all that. I love the Nevada Donor Network because when they set up their stands at the car shows and all these type of things, right? They're always there to just help. Like maybe you have a question. Like I know for me that when I was 16, which was a long time ago too, right? That they said to me, "Do you want to be an organ donor?" And I go, "Yeah, sure. I don't know." You know what I mean? Like, sure, it doesn't make a difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
And now, as the years have gone by, I still, on my license, it's still checked. And so you just, you don't want to think about your own immortality. But at the end of the day, if there's some way to be able to help a person to be able to, maybe live a little bit longer or be able to see, or, you know what I mean? Like these type of things, we all think we're in perfect health, but we probably aren't. But, you look past that.
Absolutely. And I think there's also a reflection. We talked a lot about the culture in Nevada State Police and that interactivity between leadership and, just funneling down throughout the team. And I think we see that a lot at Nevada Donor Network because we have partnerships with all the departments within Nevada State Police. And of course, there's different ways that we approach it. We work with academies, we host community events, we invite them to our community events, and that is supported by their leadership. Their leadership shows up as well. And it's not only a great way to support our mission to bring awareness to organ, eye, and tissue donation, but it's also a way for them to connect to the community, to show, children, just like we were talking about our kids earlier. And, I have a 9-year-old son, like, look at this amazing police officer that is here giving back. They want to say hi to me. They want to give me a sticker. They're here with our community on the ground. They're giving back to a good cause. So I think there's also that benefit as well, right? It's both of our cultures aligning and really wanting to show these are the people that work for us. They're just like, anyone else in our community, but they are serving and protecting our community, and like, let's give them that respect, and let's also give them a way to connect in a different, purpose and mission. So I'm really proud of that aspect. I've been with Nevada Donor Network for over 7 years, and I've seen the partnership grow immensely with law enforcement departments all across the state, including in our rural counties as well. So I'm very, very proud of that.
Yeah, they're fantastic. You can't say enough about Nevada Donor Network. You know
Thank
what I'm
you.
saying? And you're a sergeant,
Yeah.
right? Which means you oversee people that work underneath you.
I do.
And every time I see you, you know what I mean? You're smiling, you're laughing. You know what I mean? Like
That's
all these type of things. And obviously there's times where anybody gets upset. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But the thing is that you still talk about the job in the same way that you did so many years ago, because you still feel the same, and it's just it's great to see, and that's what people need to see when it comes to Nevada State Police, that you're a regular guy, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have a wife, you have the little small child, you know what I mean, that I got a chance to meet, you know what I mean, like all these things. But you work and you follow the law.
Yeah.
And so step on the other side of the law, and yes, I'm still that nice guy, but let me tell you, there's a job to do, and that job is to make sure that you are following these regulations that are set forth by the court.
Yeah, so I was at a home contact. I was talking with one of our offenders the other day, and he has a drug problem. He's trying to get into treatment, whatever, for it. And I told him, I said, without naming names, I was like, I don't want to have to arrest you. That's not my goal, to send you to jail, because that's the last resort, right? It's our job as POs to change people's lives, right? We call it be change agents, right? To work with people to build their life back from that horrible spot they were in when they got arrested and sentenced, right? That's our goal, is for you to become a productive member of society. Are there barriers? Absolutely. Right. Is drug use one of those barriers? Yes, right? We can work through that, but you have to work with me as well, right?
Yeah, right.
If you don't work with me, that's when we have problems, right? I mean, I can be happy all day long, but if you're gonna refuse, no, let's go, right? We're done here.
Right.
And we hosted a symposium in our office 2 years ago, maybe something like that, and there was a recovered drug user, and she had been on probation, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. She'd cycled through probation officers, right? And she made a comment which really stood out to me, and that was, as a drug user, there's not much that was going to get me to change my ways. I had to do it myself, right? And I can beat it into you and say, hey, listen, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, right? But they have to make that change. Part of that change, though, is us saying you got to do it, right? It's us getting involved and saying, this is why you need to change. This is what's going to happen if you don't change, right? And eventually she figured it out, right? I think it was on the 4th term of probation, right? Or she'd been to prison a couple times too, but she figured it out, right? But that's just that constant building, planting the seed and letting it grow, right? Like that's what we do. Does it work for everybody? No, unfortunately not, right? But
it's very interesting, because the TV show that I watch on the weekends that follows the police departments,
Life PD?
OP Nation. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And so they say the same thing, right? So they pull somebody over that doesn't have a driver's license, who took them on this reckless chase all around the city, put everybody's life in danger, and they get him out, and they go, what happened? He goes, well, I just didn't have a license, or my license is suspended, or the insurance was lapsed, and they go, dude, like, I would have given you a warning, I would have written you a ticket, I would have told you, please just park over here. You know what I mean? Like, we would have just had a conversation. I don't want to take you to jail, right? Like, this is the least thing that I want to do. And they always make the joke and they go, because we don't want to fill out all the paperwork and everything. But the thing is this, that when we talk to Trooper Hagstrom or Officer McClarty and they go, well, let me tell you about the jail, right? And I'm like, okay. You know, you go in there, you sit in this place for 12 hours with all these people, and you're there, right? Like, scream, do whatever you want, like, you're there. And then after you become a nuisance, and they lock you in another cell, and then they let you calm down, and then you get processed. You know, and he's like, you know, you're in there 30 hours, right? Mm-hmm. And so this is not where you want to be.
No.
Right. And so, you know, that's what they talk about. And so, you know, it's the same premise. You know what I mean? And so,
I mean, it would be my goal, and I've talked about this before on Trooper Talk, to not have a job.
Right.
That'd be my goal, right? It's probably the same with her. She doesn't want to have to work for Donor Network, right?
Right.
It's an unfortunate reality. But that is our ultimate goal, is to work ourselves out of a career.
Yeah. I do the same, Joe. Listen, Joe, my assistant, he came to me, he said, the only way I'm going to work for you is if you make yourself replaceable. And I go, I don't want to do that. And I made myself very vulnerable, and now, like, the business grew. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, so let's see what Johnny got for us today.
Are you ready to be the best of the best that the state of Nevada has to offer? Yes, sir. You've been forged in the fire. You've been tested, tried, tribulations led to this point. 1 year of your life. Let's see where you are. Are you ready for the challenge in front of you? Yes, sir. I know. Let's go.
The smile. Yeah.
So, let's talk about a few things. Nevada State Police, when you go solo, that means that you then have a take-home car. And that means that you, and this is from Officer McClarty, so we'll mention to the recruiting part of things, right? You sign on from your house.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That means that you put in a full shift. That means that you're not putting in 2 hours or an hour extra before to get there, change, do all these type of things, right? Mm-hmm. That means, because Officer Hagstrom just got the Mustang and he was showing me the inside, how he set it up, right?
Yeah.
You set up your car how you want to set up your car, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's very important. You know what I mean? And these type of things from a recruiting standpoint, right, could be a deciding factor for someone to say, do I want to join Nevada State Police or not? Because every hour that we're not with our families, right, is an hour we're not with them. And if we can work for our shift and do the best that we can, you know, it really makes a difference. So talk to us about, obviously we congratulate him on joining and getting to that status, which we know is not easy. You know, most people think, oh, this is easy. You know, they just drive around in a car, they have a gun. You know what I mean? They just pull people over, and that's the end of it. And that's not the case.
No, absolutely not. And it's funny, like, watching that. it's easy to remember my first time going solo status after completing training too. That like excitement of being like, oh man, there's nobody in the passenger seat with me, you know, telling me that I didn't make that left turn right or anything. Like I remember that. It's very exciting. So congratulations to him. That's awesome.
Walk us through yours.
Oh man, I just remember just being able to just get in the car and just not have anybody there. It was like I grabbed the radio, logged on, and it's just like, wow, like I don't have to tell anybody like, can I go here? Can I do this? Like it was like you know, like your heart starts to race. Like,
no, 100%.
I can just all like they trust me now. Like I can go where the heck I want and do what I want.
It's a big accomplishment.
It was, yeah, especially
right.
after going through the academy and then the on-field FTO training process. Like everything is just so many stressors day after day after day after day. And then you finally complete. You're like, oh man, like it was. You know, it's ultimately worth it. Yeah, for sure.
And you go through the same academy.
Yes.
Except the difference is that in the beginning or whatever you say, whether you want to be for the parole and probation or you want to be for the highway patrol.
Correct.
Right. And then you do the field training, right? Which is very stressful, right? Because to have somebody there telling you, like you said, you're not making a left turn correctly. You know, you're in a state car, right?
Yeah.
These type of things are real things, though, because at the end of the day, you are representing the state.
Absolutely.
So if you can't take that to the ultimate pride, then this isn't the right career path, right?
I would agree with that. Yeah, there has to be a sense of pride in everything that we do. Like I take my car home and I wash it almost every week because I want to put that appearance that I'm proud of my job and proud of the position I have with the state and proud to like represent our agency and the state as a whole, you know,
Right.
Ultimately, you know, but I take pride in everything I do for my job.
And
know.
you have the lights underneath the dash too, or you have the ghost lights. You
That's
don't
a
have
point
any
of
lights.
contention. I don't have any yet.
Oh,
I'm
don't
still
have any
waiting.
lights,
I'm
right?
still waiting for my car to be retired from.
Okay.
Since I have the tenure of being one of the older veteran officers here, I have to wait for mine to be recyclled out. So I'm getting closer. But
But that means they blow past you at 130 miles an hour and they don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I have a radio that works.
Right. But it is very important that the parole and probation does have the radio. We laugh and joke, but it was but before it was sort of like you didn't do those type of things, but now with the lights and all that type of stuff, the parole and probation is really helping.
Absolutely.
And it really is making a difference. I think it's slowing down people, but you know, they're probably not.
Well, I think it's kind of funny because
You're both laughing. Like, yeah, listen, Neil, but nobody's slowing down, Neil. You know what I'm saying?
it's funny. It's like I say 50% because you know, like our cars don't have blacked out windows, so I'll see cars, you know, starting to fly by, come up on me, and they see the cage in the car, and then I start to see them back off, and I'm like, oh, so it is kind of funny to see that.
This is very good.
It is very
we
funny.
never
yeah.
talked about that before. See, mentoring, cages, you know.
Yeah, so
I never thought about that. You're flying down the road, you see this car.
So with parole and probation, our
Yes.
primary focus is not traffic.
Right, of course.
That's
right.
not what our goal is. Now, if it's something egregious,
Right.
do we have the ability? Yes.
Right.
Right? Some of us do. Not all of us. I don't either, but different story. So a recent example I will give you.
Yeah.
Okay. One of our command staff was coming to work and sees a driver.
Oh.
Okay. He gets on the radio and says, I have to stop this guy. He stops him, right? Long story short, he ends up taking off. Okay, whatever. They get him stopped. Who comes to do the actual DUI? NHP. Why? Because they're better at it. They're great at it, right? That's
Right.
their primary focus, right? So the whole family aspect of things, right? We had a command staff member in a critical situation say, hey, I have to do this because it's a critical, essentially life-threatening situation at 8:30 in the morning,
Jeez.
right?
Right.
And the guy was very drunk, right? I don't know if it's a guy or girl actually, but the driver was very drunk, right? And so it's not our primary mission, but it can be done. And to add on to what you're saying on the more comical side, though, is people do see our cages and they're like, ooh. They're like,
Yeah, I just never thought of that.
yeah. And, you know,
You're
am I
coming-
going to stop you? Very likely no.
Right.
Right? Could I? Sure.
Right.
Right? But for our focus, that's not the point. Like our lights and sirens are to get us places we need to go, because we have critical incidents where officers get into things, they're in houses, right?
I never thought about that.
It's happened to me before where I need someone to get there, right? And our dispatch, and this is years ago for me because I'm a sergeant, but our dispatch will call Metro and say, hey, do you have anybody available? And usually the answer is yes, and they'll come out and help us, right? That's not their primary focus either. They have their own job to do, right? NHP will come help us. They're not always available. If I'm in the middle of the city, let's say I'm here at Flamingo and Jones, right? Where's your closest freeway? It's 3 miles that way, 4 miles that way, right?
Yeah.
So NHP might not be available. So for us to have lights, if I'm at Flamingo and Jones and he's at Spring Mountain and Decatur, I can get there like that with lights, right? So it's more important for us to respond to each other.
Yeah.
Or if there's a trooper that needs assistance, we can respond to them too, right? The day this happened to me, the one Metro officer that responded was a motor unit. He came to help. He helped me get the guy in custody, which was very useful.
Yeah.
But a motor unit responded, which thank you, Metro, for putting out the all call, all right, to come help us. But that's the focus for us. Now, on the highway patrol side, obviously theirs is for traffic enforcement, right?
no, of course.
We can talk about the fire marshal side too. Fire marshal has lights to get to
Yes.
scenes.
Yes.
Capitol Police has lights in order to respond to things at DMVs or at welfare offices or the other offices that we have. So we each have a different focus, but they can all be used for the same thing.
Right. No, 100%.
Yeah.
And you know, not so much as for the lights and sirens, but, you know, when lights and sirens happens, maybe someone has passed.
Yep.
And so when someone has passed, they are very, you know, the families, or a lot of psychological things are happening, right? Because, you know, sometimes things like this are not planned.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so the Nevada Donor Network is there by a phone call. Like, I'm at the hospital right now. This is the situation. I don't know what to do. And someone's there. They answer the phone. They send someone over, and they have these difficult conversations with family members about the passing of their family. Go ahead.
Yes, and you know, these conversations happen, and we have a very, very well-trained team that deals with the worst day of someone's life. They find out their loved one has passed, and now this decision has already been made by the individual, or it's up to them to make that decision for them, which is two very, very different conversations. And our team is there to help them. And from there, once donation moves forward, I like to speak, because we were talking a lot about lights and sirens. There's been many times where once allocation is finished, we have the teams flying in from different places to recover these organs, the ultimate gift, to save someone else's life. There have been weekends like the Electric Daisy Carnival where traffic is absolutely insane, and we need to get a pair of lungs to the airport as quick as possible. And we have had Nevada State Police come alongside a rig, an ambulance, and follow them, move traffic, and get us to the airport in a timely manner, because transplantation specifically with heart and lungs has to be done in a very short period of time from when the organ is recovered. So again, it's little aspects of our relationship that I don't think people truly understand the magnitude of it. I spoke a little bit to the community portion of it, the culture, and how our cultures really align like that. And then, of course, there's this portion of it as well, where they're logistically helping us make the gift possible. So, yeah, there's many, many ways that, you know, that is happening every single day.
You know, it's interesting because you don't think about these type of things. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you see like the like a dignitary, the president, the vice president. You know, like they come into town, and you know what I mean. Like all these things are happening. You know what I mean? I thought it was my phone. It sounded just like my phone. And so, but you don't think about the fact of that how long it takes when that decision is made Wow.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to ask, like, so, like a heart, or like is it in like a special case, and like?
Yeah, so there's different types of medical devices. If anyone has ever partaken in the show Grey's Anatomy, they have shown it, but it's called heart in the box is the very simplistic term, but it's basically a medical device that will actually put the heart onto a pump device, and they will pump blood through the heart and keep it healthy and safe while they're transporting it. Different organs are transported in different ways, but specifically with heart and lungs, you have a 3 to 4 hour time period from when recovery happens to the surgery needing to happen on the grateful recipient. So, yeah, I mean, we know there's been very random times where traffic here gets very insane, and if you're going Midwest, East Coast, that has to happen very quickly. So
like literally, because you could have, not to get into gory details, but like you could have something where you would have a tragedy here that you need to get that specific organ to someone that's 2 hours away.
Yes.
And then that would have to be almost, so when you hear about those things where they say it has a life that they, you know what I mean, that they have to transport or transplant it into someone, like it's
yeah, and in the background too, right? You're having our team here is working with the transplant centers here locally. We do have one transplant center, which is a kidney transplant center at UMC. And outside of that, the organs are going to transplant centers outside of our state. And so we're working with the transplant coordinators who are then, you know, sending blood of the potential recipient. We're doing the testing here to ensure that they're the correct match based on where they are on the list. And then from there, the timing and how things go on the recipient side, is it right? They need to get to their transplant center. They need to get prepped to go to surgery. They need to be ready for OR. And so you're having a whole team of people, literally, for if someone's donating, let's say 8 organs, you're having like 100 people that are working on, you know, this one donor, and then all these different recipients that are being impacted by the gift. So it's amazing how many people work together. And outside from just the traditional sense of our relationship, dispatch is also a huge part of our partnership that we have with Nevada State Police, because they're the ones that are intercepting the call at the very beginning. They're the ones that are actually trained to call us when a death happens at the scene of an accident or something like that, and they're starting the conversations there. So there's such a trickle down in why I say I've been with Nevada Donor Network for over 7 years, how much the relationship has grown. It started as a relationship with Nevada State Police Highway Patrol with the Fatal Team, and then it grew even more to now we're going to bring awareness to our mission. Parole and Probation can speak about it. We go to their academies, do educations. There's all different types of puzzle pieces that go into why it's so important. So yeah, I'm very proud of it. I could talk about it.
And I just want to finish with one. At the end of the day, right? All this is done possibly for one person.
Yes.
Right? Like, you know what I mean? And so we have to always, like I say, we love the Nevada State Police. We love our officers, right? We just, by showing this, it's just showing the fact of, you know, that we love each other, even though 2 people haven't met each other. And so this is wonderful. I had no idea.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I had no idea.
And it's all about human kindness, because in these out-of-hospital partnerships that we have, you know, outside of law enforcement, other first responder departments, as well as, you know, working with funeral homes and things like that. It's because they believe in organ, eye, and tissue donation, and they've created this donation positive culture amongst their team, and that's why they give back in this way. So it really touches my heart that it's something that they do because they do believe in our mission.
I gotta throw our dispatchers some love though, because I was
working
this last Tuesday night, and there was a fatal crash, and you know we don't handle that. That's not our agency, but I'm looking through the notes in our computer system, and one of the first notes I see in there is 21 to Donor Network, which means telephone call to Donor Network, and we got the initial call that there was someone, it was a pedestrian hit by a vehicle, and it's 4 or 5 notes down, which is pretty impressive.
Yes,
Like,
at the
fire
very
department got
beginning.
there, noticed the subject was deceased, unfortunately, and then called our network. So, I mean, the dispatchers right there, they know it, they're trained it, and it
And
clearly,
they're passionate and
Yeah.
they care about it, and it means the world to us. Because what's very interesting, so even slightly before I started with Nevada Donor Network, this partnership begun because we had a mother who called us, who her son unfortunately passed away at the scene of a car accident on a highway here. And she was distraught, not only from the loss of her son, but also the fact that he wasn't able to be a donor, because at the time we didn't have the partnership. And she didn't understand the logistical need of timing and that communication, and how we have to be on the same page in order to make donation happen. And Monica, who is our manager of community development up in Northern Nevada, went to leadership at Nevada State Police and said, what can we do to change this? Like, I know there's some way that we can make this happen, because we were the first organ procurement organization in the nation to have a relationship like this, a referral relationship with law enforcement. And so that started from a conversation from leadership, and again, starting with the Fatal Team to now, you see it a few notes down with the dispatch team. So all of them are trained to be able to do that. And yeah, it's just a very, very incredible partnership that we're very thankful for.
Yeah, it's amazing. And we love the dispatchers.
Absolutely, we do.
You know what I mean? Like first of all, we need to hire dispatchers. So if anybody wants to hire, come in, go to NevadaStatePolice.com, Officer McClarty. You know what I mean? I'm thinking about you. But we love them, right? They're the lifeblood of what it is that you do. And if you need something, you know that you can get on your radio and get a hold of somebody.
Dispatch is fantastic.
Yeah, and so we've had them on before, not to go over specifics, and they don't, of how the communication to make sure that you're always safe, and all these stuff. But they're there because they really believe in that. And again, they're an unsworn position, right? So if somebody wants to be a dispatcher, they don't have to be in a sworn position. And it can be just like when you started, that they just feel the love, and so they just want to be in the dispatch area. They just don't want to be a sworn officer. And so there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? And so it's very important.
Absolutely, yeah. Dispatch is fantastic and everything. And I make it a part whenever I'm in the area too. I try to go down to our dispatch center and walk in and say hello. Because a lot of the times they know it's just by a number. So it's nice to put a face to a number, So
we
fun.
went there, Johnny and I, and we went up to the war room upstairs,
up on
right? When it comes to the dispatchers, right? The thing is that being in an unsworn position and being around all the officers and things of this nature, it's really important. And so what I was saying was, when Johnny and I went up to that war room and we looked down, right, and you see the dispatchers, right? And they have a phone here, they have an earpiece here, they have another phone here, they're typing here, they have screens here, they're looking here, like,
It's a lot.
you have to be very talented,
Absolutely.
right? And again, talented in the way that I come back to, that's fantastic about that they called them, right? Like, because we need to be on a way to be able to call the Nevada Donor Network. And so, I think that dispatchers are fantastic. I don't know how I wanted to end to that point, but I think they're fantastic. So let's talk about a little bit of training. So you go to the academy, and when you're in the academy, it's not just fun and games. They are there to train you. They're there to command you. They are there to ensure that when you go out, that you know the law. That someone is not going to say to you, what do you think of this? And you go, well, I don't really know the law. Or, well, I was sort of sleeping that day. You know what I mean? Like, this is not the case. The Nevada State Police wants you to be trained, wants you to know everything that you need to so that they can set you up for success. So one of the things that's been really cool is when Ashley, Trooper Wellman, was here, and then she went to the academy, right? And then I texted her yesterday, and she said, oh, I am sergeant in training for the month of September. And so it's really cool because everybody who has come on Trooper Talk, who has started at a trooper level, right, you know, is now sergeant or higher, or and so it's very, very special. And so the parole and probation, even though it's different from the highway patrol with things that you do, you have the same training. And so you as a sworn officer know the law, know how to handle firearms, know how to talk to people. You know, it's really important, and you have to be able to talk to people to be able to do your job.
Absolutely. Talking to people, I think, is the easiest way to break down any barriers between, you know, especially someone who's had a bad day and made a bad choice and now is in our office, or the lifelong, you know, habitual criminal. Just talking to somebody is a great way to get on a level playing field with them and just kind of see where we're at and try to see where we can go and build a relationship with them at the end of the day. Especially having to know the law, like you said, we get trained in the same background with laws and everything like that that Highway Patrol has to learn. So when we see the offenders come to our office, let's just say we know that somebody who has like a DUI offense, they're not supposed to drive a car, and we witness them driving, we have to be able to hold them accountable for that same statute that they would be held by for Highway Patrol if they came to our office in a car, which happens, you know, multiple times, you know, I would say daily. I've witnessed some of my individuals who are not supposed to be driving come in, they don't have driver's licenses, and then they're like, well, how can you tell me I can't drive a car? Well, your license was revoked, sir. Like, that's why.
So the license is revoked, but they need to come in and see you, or else they get in trouble, right?
Correct.
And so they drive their car.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's happened multiple times, and I had an individual on my caseload not too long ago who did the same thing and drove an unregistered car without a license to our office, and I had to take obviously the car away from him, had to have it towed, had to tell him that he can't drive because he didn't have a license. He fought me tooth and nail for why couldn't he? I tell him not to drive. I said, well, it's revoked and suspended. You don't have an actual valid driver's license. And we ended up having to go back in front of the judge, and she had to sanction him. And you know, she gave him a reprimand and put him back in jail for several days. And he still didn't believe that I was right, and she had to ultimately tell him, no, you can't drive because I told you not to in the first place. So just like you said, that goes back to the training, being aware and knowing what the statutes are, the laws are, and what we can hold somebody accountable to.
And let's face it, you don't want to put them in jail. Like you know, coming back to your thing, you know, and so you know, I don't know, but when I was watching the show the other day, the two individuals were fighting, right? And one of them was on parole, okay? And so what they did was the officers that were there made a phone call to the parole officer and said, listen, this particular person is going to sleep at Fred's house tonight, so that we can sort of separate the situation, right? When it comes to being on parole or probation, they have your phone number. And so if there's a problem, I'm not putting words into anybody's mouth that you guys are doing that, right? But what I'm saying is that if there's a problem, like there's a way to get a hold of you to say, like, listen, I'm in this situation right now, and you know what I mean? We had a famous person who was trying to get home and was late for his thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's conversations to be had.
Absolutely.
And so at the end of the day, for where you are and for where you sit, from all of this training and from the talking, it's really important that you're there for the people that are working with you, right?
Right, absolutely. And like you said, they have a way to get in touch with me. We're issued a cell phone, and I give my offenders, we call them offenders, you know, because it's
Right, of course,
the
they
same
have
that they're-
offended,
they
right,
are.
of course.
But I give them my cell phone, and I say, hey, you can text me or call me anytime. You know, the only time I won't reply is if I'm asleep, you know, but normally I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If there's something going on, call me or text me, and I will get back to you and make sure we can figure out a resolution to anything. If it's something that's super important, we'll get it taken care of. But I'm not just going to leave you hanging in the dust. So something bad happens.
Right. It's very important. You know what I mean? And from the leadership of the Nevada State Police, they have your number. Like you know what I mean? So like if there's a problem, there's a way to get a hold of somebody that can help, because at the end of the day, with the job, there's always fluid situations that you have to ask, you know what I mean, or do I take someone in, do I not take someone in, what is the situation, right?
And we're open the majority of the day, right? We're not closed, but really only a couple hours at night, right? That you can't reach anybody. And even if you can't reach anybody, let's say you're on the side of the road, Metro's got you pulled over, what Metro does? They get on the phone and they call us. There's someone on call 24/7. So there's always someone that you can talk to. We've had it in the past where I'll be working a swing shift. It's 8 o'clock at night, and our dispatch calls, and they're like, "We have one of your offenders on the phone," because they get our dispatch number and they call dispatch. They go, "I can't get anyone at the office," and they get us to us that way. We have 24-hour on-call officers all of the time. If that happens, they can call one of those officers. So we can get in touch with people if they need to.
And that's what people need to know, that if there's a problem, you know what I mean, that you're there. You don't just come out, or you know what I mean, like and that you're there for them 1,000%. You know what I mean, and it's very important. Right?
And if Officer Thompson takes vacation, his sergeant takes over the phone calls, takes over the emails. We're reachable. We'll try and solve your problems as much as we can whenever we can, right? If you get yourself in legal trouble, that's a different story.
Right. No. Right. Well, and again, I can only imagine, right? Like, listen. Oh, by the way, I'm in jail for these type of things. What do I do now? And it's like.
So what happens when someone, let's say that they're being not so intelligent and get themselves in legal trouble, right? The officer on scene who's booking them on new charges, they go through their dispatch calls our dispatch, a decision is made. And if it's any sort of felony charge or gross misdemeanor charge, you're probably going to jail. Okay. If it's certain other charges, we'll make a decision whether or not, but there's a lot of, we'll call them auto arrests. For example, DUI, automatic, going to jail, right? Domestic violence, going to jail, 100% guaranteed. Have a nice trip. And that officer on scene is relayed through their dispatch, take them to jail, put them on a probation or parole hold. And probation or parole holds, so people know, if you're arrested, there is no bail. You don't get out. So on a probation hold, you have to see your sentencing judge within 15 days. So if you're arrested on
15 days.
15 days. And that Neil, is new. That was enacted in 2021.
I think
the 2021 legislature, I believe, might have been 2019. I'm not sure.
15
There were times in the past where you'd be in jail for 45 days, depending on your judge's calendar. They've had to amend the judge's calendars. So 15 days is relatively reasonable, right? So we write a report within 7 days. That report is forwarded to the judge. They then review said report and make a decision when you go to court as to what happens with you. On the parole side, it's a completely different story. If you're arrested for a parole violation, we write the report within 7 days. It's forwarded to the parole board. You are transported from county to the prison, where you wait usually in the holding tank for 30 days, because they have what do they call it? Not the hole. They keep you in classification for 30 days, which is basically a 24-hour lockdown at the prison. And then you're given a parole board date, which usually I think is 60 days, sometimes 90 days.
You're still in jail, though.
From your initial arrest.
Or now you're in prison.
Yes, there is no bail for these holds. That differs from other states, because you'll get offenders from California particularly. They're like, oh, why don't I have bail? I said, because you're in Nevada. There is a difference.
Wow.
Yeah. That part of it is really not messing around. So if you violate, there are serious consequences, right? And for a technical violation, which is something that's not going to be a laws or egregious violation, you can be reinstated. If you're going to have a sanction put on you, though, that sanction is 30 days.
Well, that was my question. So my question is, so you do this, and then you go, and then you have the judge sees you.
Yep.
You can then, the judge can say, you can plead your case, and the judge goes, okay, I feel bad for you,
Yeah.
even though I really shouldn't. I do, and now we're going to put you back onto.
Yeah,
Parole,
they'll
right.
they'll reinstate you to probation, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
a lot of the judges, they're pretty clear. They'll say this is your last chance. Or there was a judge Doug Smith, an old time judge. He was like, I don't know what you were thinking.
Yeah.
But they'll give you their opinion. Say, I don't know why you did this. They'll give you a chance to explain yourself, but this is your sanction. Here you go. And it can be 30, 90, 180 for
120, I think.
120 for technical violations, which would be like a good example of technical violation would be like, let's say that you're on probation and she keeps using methamphetamine, and we take her back for using methamphetamine, right? The judge can say you're going to do 30 days in county. You're going to do 90 days in county.
90
Right?
days.
90 days.
It increases as every time you're
Increases
brought
as you
back
go.
for sanctions. Yeah, it
Yes.
increases.
The judge could also say, you know what, don't do it again. I'm letting you out today.
Right, of course.
That happens too, and that's usually like your first time, right? But if we're getting to the point where it's
Over and
90 days, 120 days, like that judge is going to be fed up and say, you know what, bye. You're going to prison. The parole board, if you had, take for example, a DUI death, right? That's going to cost you, 4 to 10 minimum, I think it is. 4 years to 10 years minimum, I believe. So let's say you parole out after 4 years, right? And we catch you drinking or drinking and driving again, right? The parole board's not going to be so kind to you, most likely. It's a whole board. They make their decisions, but they could throw you back in prison for another couple of years, right? So, and the DUI deaths, right? Those, generally speaking, are go to prison, come out on parole, right? That's Henry Ruggs, the Raiders player that
Oh, yeah, right.
killed Tina Tinter, right? He's going to do probably 4 years, come out on parole, be on parole for a number of years, right? If he messes up on that time, have
Right
fun
back.
serving your 10 years. So there are serious consequences, right, for your actions. We don't want to be here
Wow.
talking about someone dying in a DUI, but if that occurs, it's not over. That event was not. That was not the change of your life. It'll be over when your parole is finished, or if you violate your parole the day you walk out of prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I had no idea. Not that I ever want to know. You know what I'm saying? It's very scary to me. Listen, you guys scared me when you talk about when you go there, you have to sit in a tank with 12 hours. 36 hours was long enough.
Yeah.
But on a very serious note, you know what I mean? Like, people need to understand that if you drive or you do whatever and you hurt someone or kill someone, as much as Christina wants to help, she doesn't want to get a phone call from the Nevada State Police that someone is like that, right? But in these consequences, I mean, you don't think about it, because like you're on the let's say here, right? Like on the outside, I was gonna say, and so you don't think like, oh, what's gonna happen in 60 days from now? Oh, it's like, oh, it's Christmas or it's the holidays. It's it's 45 days from now. And you're like, no, dude, I had to spend 45 days in jail.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is not fun.
I actually had one of my officers take someone to jail last year the day before Thanksgiving. And you know what? It wasn't undeserved, right? They earned it. And he was like, I'm going to miss Thanksgiving. And I said, you'll probably miss Christmas too. Because he was a parolee. He was very upset with that. I wasn't trying to be smart, right? It was like, you're probably going to miss Christmas too, right? And he was like, what about my kids? And I literally said to him, I might have been a little rude. I said, you should have thought about your kids before you did this.
Right? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I will tell you, so the other show that I watch about where they put the people in the prisons, that try to, they follow them around with the cameras to try to get the drugs out of the prison, right? They show these guys, like, even though they know the sheriff, right, who put them into the prison to find the drugs in the prison, they're still banging on these doors trying to get someone, and no one is helping them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, very scary places. Let's transition from there to something else that is a little bit, from what I understand, this month is a very special month. Hopefully for people that are going to be out of prison or whatever for the Christmas season, you know what I'm saying? But for you, for the Nevada Donor Network, we know you take this very seriously.
We do.
Talk to us about what the situation is.
So every September is National DMV Appreciation Month, and we're honored to show our gratitude and love to Nevada DMV and all of their team members they have in offices throughout the state. So why is this so important? Over 99% of registrations, when someone becomes a registered organ, eye, and tissue donor, it comes from a DMV office across the nation. Here in Nevada, 64% of our state is registered. Now, we are 10% above the national average. State by state, the average is 54%. So we are very proud to call the Nevada DMV our front line in saving and healing lives, because without them asking that question, when someone walks into a DMV office, we wouldn't have, you know, that 64% of our state registered. So we are very honored to call them a partner as well in saving and healing lives.
Never thought about that. You know, I mean, like I said, I talked about the fact that when I was younger, that I went into the DMV, you know, you just check the box or something like that, right? But you don't think about it, but it's a very interesting way. So let me ask you this. The people that work at the DMV, are they able to talk about it?
So their interactions are very brief. They don't have time to sort of give education about it, but they have created a positive donation culture throughout their staff members. So training about our mission starts when they're in their new hire academy. We attend staff meetings. We come and speak to them throughout the year. If you go into a Nevada DMV office within our state, there are banners on the walls that share more about our mission, learn more. So their goal is ask the question. They're required, it's an NRS law, to ask the question at the DMV. But if someone has any questions outside of that, they're not expected to be the expert, but what we ask of them is there are brochures in every DMV, scan the QR code on our wall wraps. You can learn more about it on your own, and you can get registered online. DMV isn't the only place that you can get registered. So our hope is that they are proud to champion our mission, and there's different things throughout the year that they participate in to just bring the awareness to the cause. Because when you have that, you know, captivative customers that are coming in there, they're answering the question, we want them to be able to know and be confident in the question that they're asking and understand more about the mission as well.
And so only for the first initial they ask, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. If you renew, well, do they ask
Yeah, you get asked every single time you get your new. So the renewal periods are a lot longer. That was why the online registry was created, so people could get registered online, because now we're looking at, I think it's like
6 years.
Yeah, it's a really long time now. So people aren't going to the DMV as much. But yes, during your renewal, you always get asked that question when you receive a new identification card or driver's license.
Okay. And so again, if someone is interested, so they're watching the program, they're like, look, I already got my driver's license, so I'm not going back to the DMV, or maybe I can't get to the DMV. Now, I know that from the store, we have a tremendous amount of phone calls and emails from people that can't come to see us. And they say, if for us it's against the law, we have to buy from within our four walls. We're not allowed to actually go to somewhere. It started when the gold parties happened, because what would happen is the person who had the gold party would make a fortune, and the guy buying the gold would make a fortune. And so they outlawed the fact of, to be able to take your license, oh, I'm going to take my license to Fred's house, and I'm going to buy gold from Fred's house. And so anyway, so they outlawed that. But I know there's a tremendous amount of people that live in Nevada and live in Las Vegas and all across, that don't have means of transportation. It doesn't mean they're bad people. They just don't have means of transportation. Some people are disabled, you know, where they physically can't get out of bed or out of a chair or something like this. So if someone is interested, what is the best way for someone to use the Nevada Donor Network?
So if you would like to learn more about organ, eye, and tissue donation and what it means to become a heroic donor, you can head to www.nvdonor.org. You can learn more on our website. You can also, right there on our website, just click register to be a hero, and it takes you to registerme.org, and you can get registered right there online. If you are an iPhone user, there is within your health app as well a way to get registered to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor as well. So those are two different options that from your hand to getting that done within a minute, you can get registered. It truly is that easy, and it's an important gift. You say yes, and you bring hope to those over 100,000 Americans that are waiting for the ultimate gift.
And I never asked before, but if someone is interested in donating themselves to your organization, is that possible?
So doing whole body donation.
No,
no.
I mean, they want to help in your
Oh,
organization.
financial contributions.
Well,
Okay.
not their whole body.
Yeah, I was like, that's different
No.
from.
I meant someone who, okay, like they have time and they're like, you know, I believe in your mission.
Oh yeah, they want to volunteer and give back.
Right.
Absolutely.
So what is the best way for them?
So our program of volunteers is called our Advocate for Life. And basically, Joanna May is actually a part of our Advocates for Life. She gives back with her time, volunteers at different events, speaks, comes and does interviews like this. And essentially what you can do to learn more about the program is go to nvdonor.org/volunteer. You can apply right there online. We have a whole training program you go through, and then there's just a varied amount of events coming in to volunteer by helping with office work if that's what you prefer to stay inside. There's so many different ways that you can give back, sharing your story, why donation is important to you. So we give a lot of opportunities, but we absolutely appreciate our Advocates for Life because we are a small but mighty team, and reaching all of our community across the state without them just wouldn't be possible.
Okay, great. So did we have fun?
What's that?
We're over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? Was this exciting or?
It was cool. It was cool. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Good time.
Did you know he's been on your wall for a long time?
No. Where?
Top photo, third from the left, or third from the right.
That's
sorry.
right. Yeah.
Oh.
That's him. He's been on your wall for a long time.
See, that's very funny. See, that's very
A
cool.
silent star.
We're gonna have Johnny get you a marker so you can sign your name.
Right.
I appreciate you coming in. I really do. I appreciate you. You know, the fact of sharing the stories and telling people about what it is that you have done and how you've gotten to where you're at. I think it's tremendously important. We always want people to know that, you know, by coming here and, you know, either becoming and doing the dispatch, that you're an unsworn officer, and maybe you can be an officer. We had one of the dispatchers here. She said, "Oh, you know, I was thinking about being a trooper." And Officer McClarty's ears got like big like this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, you know, it is important. And the Nevada State Police is one family, and that family goes through all the different divisions and things like that. And so it's really wonderful, and I appreciate that you took the time to come here with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was great. It was fun.
And I'm glad to know that you've been on the wall the whole time.
Silent star. Yeah.
I love it.
Sergeant Clifton, you know, again, I come back to the fact of, you know, the friendship is so meaningful, and you know, seeing you here and then coming back to the fact of, you know, when you stepped up to the plate, when there really wasn't anybody to be able to come in. You know what I mean? And so it just means so much. So thanks again.
It's great to be here.
Great to be here.
Every
you know?
time.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to turn at this camera and we're just going to wave, okay? All right, see you later.
Bye.